Hey everyone, welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving straight into what is literally the ultimate language of business, measuring success. Specifically, we're looking at the strategic program scorecard. Now, whether you're an executive sitting in the C-suite, demanding hard, verifiable evidence that your investments are actually paying off, or maybe you're a practitioner right there in the trenches, working tirelessly and just needing the right tools to prove your day-to-day impact, well, this explainer is definitely for you. We're going to look at how program metrics and KPIs act as the absolute ultimate scorecard for success. Because let's face it, the harsh truth of the business world is this: without a reliable scorecard, you're not really managing a program, are you? You're just guessing. And guessing, that's an incredibly expensive habit.
But before we get too comfortable here, ask yourself this one question. Are your metrics lying to you? It's a bit of a provocative question, I know, but just think about a really common scenario for a second. You probably stare at dashboards all day long, right? You see this absolute sea of green arrows pointing up. You've got impressive percentages, massive, perfectly formatted spreadsheets. Yet deep down in your gut, you just know the project is struggling. Milestones feel totally rushed, teams are completely burned out, and the actual product, it's just not landing. Well, that disconnect happens because not all numbers tell the truth. Sometimes the data you're relying on is just creating this beautiful, comforting illusion that completely masks a failing strategy. So we're going to strip away all that noise today and figure out exactly how to tell if your data is actually empowering you or just whispering sweet nothings.
Section 1, the scorecard of success.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. Program metrics and KPIs are essentially the scorecards of program success. They're used to define, track, and report performance indicators. Now pay close attention to that very specific sequence of words. Define, track, report. A massive pitfall I see for so many organizations is they'll go out, buy some shiny new software tool, and immediately start tracking literally everything. Every single click, every hour logged, every minor update. But you can't just start tracking raw numbers randomly. You have to define what success actually looks like first. Is success faster adoption? Is it higher revenue, lower overhead? Once you've defined that, then you track the specific raw data that actually proves it. And finally, you report it. When you execute this exact sequence correctly, it's a real game changer. You transform this chaotic, overwhelming sea of raw data into a structured, really compelling narrative. It becomes this crystal clear story that empowers you to make informed, critical choices, rather than just, constantly reacting to whoever happens to be ringing the loudest alarm bell.
Let's look at an example. Tracking return on investment, or ROI, across 3 distinct phases of a program is exactly the kind of hard evidence that executives demand. Just imagine, phase 1 of a major initiative is your heavy research and development phase. You're deploying capital, you're building infrastructure, and obviously the cash flow is heavily negative. Then phase 2 is your deployment, where those costs finally begin to stabilize. And phase 3, that's your market launch, where profitability should, theoretically anyway, skyrocket. Look, you don't just want to know that a team is putting in 60-hour weeks. You want to know for sure that the capital deployed in phase 1 is actually generating a massive return in phase 3. Tracking ROI phase by phase lets leadership see exactly when and where a program crosses that magical threshold into profitability. It gives you the undeniable financial justification you need to keep funding it, or, on the flip side, it acts as this vital early warning signal so you can pull the plug before a minor loss turns into a totally catastrophic one.
But hey, money, while obviously crucial, is absolutely not the only indicator of success here. Stakeholder satisfaction, measuring exactly who is highly satisfied, or merely neutral, is where practitioners can really demonstrate their real-world impact. Let's say you just rolled out this massive new software system for your global sales team. You might be delivering that program absolutely perfectly, under budget, hitting every single financial milestone along the way. But if the sales team finds the software incredibly clunky, if they flat out refuse to use it, and their satisfaction levels are deeply neutral or even negative, your program is ultimately going to fail. ROI means absolutely nothing if the actual human beings involved reject the change. Tracking satisfaction levels gives you a vital pulse on the human element of your initiative. It's how you prove that you aren't just hitting abstract financial targets, but that you're actually delivering tangible value that people recognize, adopt, and genuinely appreciate.
To wrap up our dashboard tour, consider a very specific, hyper-focused metric, a negative 15% schedule variance. Now, why highlight a specific negative number like this? Because this right here is the exact moment where data stops just being informational and actually starts driving decisions. Schedule variance tells you instantly if you're ahead of or behind your required timeline. And a negative 15% variance? That isn't just a tiny little dip. That is a massive, flashing red light. It means you are falling significantly behind, and you might entirely miss your crucial holiday launch window, which basically allows competitors to beat you to the market. The absolute key takeaway here is that you don't just sigh, shrug your shoulders, and accept this number. You use it as a trigger. You act. You immediately reallocate resources from some low-priority task. You adjust your scope. You urgently communicate the delay to your stakeholders. That is the very definition of actionable data.
Section 2, beware of vanity metrics. So, on one hand, we have vanity metrics, which look absolutely fantastic on paper, but completely lack substance. And these are directly contrasted with actionable insights, which are the hard pieces of data that actually drive your business decisions. Vanity metrics are that comforting illusion we talked about earlier. Imagine you have a marketing campaign that suddenly generates 1 million page views on your website because of some viral social media post. It feels amazing, right? The team orders pizza, everyone's high-fiving, the graph looks like a hockey stick going straight up. But what if literally 0 of those million visitors actually bought your product? You've got 0 conversions, 0 new revenue, and oh, by the way, your server costs just doubled. That right there is a vanity metric. It doesn't pay the bills. An actionable insight, on the other hand, might be far less glamorous. It's something like tracking your shopping cart abandonment rate. But it tells you exactly where customers are getting frustrated and leaving. It tells you exactly what is broken and what you need to fix right now to succeed. Relying on vanity metrics is just incredibly dangerous because you basically end up optimizing for applause instead of actual program success. Which brings us to a really critical, maybe even a little uncomfortable question. I want you to really ask yourself this about your own day-to-day work. Are you just efficient, or are you strategic? It is so incredibly easy to get caught up in the daily grind, to focus entirely on just making the operational machine run faster and smoother. You're churning out tasks, you're clearing out your inbox, you're hitting all those local targets. But if you aren't pausing to ask whether that incredibly fast machine is actually headed in the right direction, well, you're just running on a hamster wheel. You are missing the bigger picture entirely. This question bridges that vital gap between merely checking off operational boxes and actually achieving higher-level, transformative goals. Let's explore exactly how deep that difference goes. Section 3, aligning with strategic goals. Think of it this way. Operational efficiency is fundamentally about doing things right. It's about reducing friction, cutting out excess costs, and speeding up your delivery timelines. Strategic goals, however, are about doing the right things. And let me tell you, the distinction between those two concepts is literally everything. You could build the most robust, structurally sound, perfectly engineered bridge in the entire world, coming in completely under budget and 3 months early. That is operational efficiency. But if that beautifully built bridge connects 2 totally uninhabited islands where no one ever travels, that is a monumental strategic failure. You can have the most efficient program in your industry, perfectly tracked schedule variance, incredible operational metrics across the board, but if that program doesn't actually align with the overarching long-term strategic goals of your organization, it is useless. Your metrics absolutely must reflect this alignment. A true program scorecard doesn't just validate how fast you're running, it provides the undeniable proof that you're running toward the correct finish line. So, as we wrap up, I wanted to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. If your metrics only show efficiency but completely ignore your strategic goals, what story is your scorecard really telling? Honestly, it's telling a story of busy work. It's a completely fictional tale of success. So to all the executives out there demanding hard evidence, and to the practitioners working daily to prove your impact, I challenge you to audit your dashboards tomorrow morning, honestly evaluate what you are actually measuring. Ditch those vanity metrics that only serve to make you feel good. Stop obsessing purely over the hamster wheel of operational efficiency. You need to ensure that every single KPI you define, track, and report is undeniably anchored to a core strategic goal. Because that is how you turn raw numbers into a true scorecard of success. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll see you next time.